Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. The famous line carved above the gates of hell in Dante's Inferno. But the version above the gate that we walk through is different, less honest, and albeit unspoken. It said something like, "Welcome, you're free now." And you took the freedom they offered. Perhaps you even shopped in the rebellion section. You curated your personality from the menu. You picked your causes, your aesthetics, your opinions, your version of being different from everybody else. And it felt so natural, so common sense that we walked in watching the gates close behind us. This video is a descent, 7 circles down, until we reach the point where the only option is ascension. If you've ever had that feeling, that lingering feeling, that something is wrong with your life, but you can't quite put your finger on it, this is for you. Because it's not depression, it's not burnout, it's recognition. Some part of you already knows. So let's step through the gates. My name is Fabian. I'm a psychologist. I have spent years watching what being trapped in manufactured freedom does to people. The shape of the damage, the way it convinces capable, intelligent adults that this is all there is, that this is life, and how it devours them. This is a wake-up call. It will make you uncomfortable. Enjoy the discomfort. That's the whole point. The comfortable lie. You step through the gates and you believe you are free. You wake up when you want. You buy what you want. You watch what you want. And you vote how you vote. Nobody is forcing you. There is no soldier at your door, no censor reading your mail. By every standard your grandparents would have recognized, you are free. So why does your life feel like it's running on rails? Because real cages do not have bars. Because people notice bars. They push against them. They organize and they riot. So nobody who actually wants to control you is going to use bars. They're going to use comfort, convenience, the illusion of choice across a safe, pre-approved menu. You are not free because you can choose between 50 streaming services. You're not free because you can pick 4 political parties that agree on more than they disagree on. You are not free because you can buy any of 3,000 brands of breakfast cereal. This is not freedom, this is selection. And there's a big difference. Freedom is the capacity to want something the system didn't put on a shelf for you. By that standard, when was the last time you actually wanted something that wasn't already marketed back to you? This first circle is the place where everyone insists they're not in a cage. Because the cage is upholstered. Because the cage has good Wi-Fi. Because the cage opens its doors twice a year or a holiday and tells you that's freedom. This is not freedom. And the moment you can see that, even slightly, you've already started the descent, the rebellion on the shelf. The second circle is where the self-image starts to shatter. Because this is where most people who pride themselves on not being like everyone else find out that they very much are. Look at your rebellion. Actually look at it. The band t-shirt with the anti-establishment slogan, printed in a factory in Bangladesh, sold by a corporation worth more than some countries. The podcast subscription that promises you the truth they don't want you to hear. Monetized, advertised, algorithmically promoted by the same platforms it claims to be exposing. The lifestyle choice that marks you as different from the herd. Minimalism, van life, off-grid, anti-consumerist that requires you to buy a specific set of products to perform it correctly. The political identity you wear like an armor, built almost entirely from the media you consumed, framed by people you'll never meet, expressed in a language that was tested in focus groups before it ever reached you. You are not rebelling. You are shopping in the rebellion aisle. This aisle is run by the same company that runs all the aisles. The system learned decades ago that the most efficient thing it could do was to sell you the feeling of resisting. A person performing rebellion through purchases is doing 2 things at once that are very useful to the people in charge. First, they're spending money and they're discharging the energy that might have built something real. Real rebellion costs the rebel something, risks something, produces friction in the rebel's actual life, at work, in relationship, with the comfort of fitting in. What most of us are doing, most of the time, costs nothing, risks nothing, is in fact advertised. Anything that is advertised was, by definition, never going to threaten the people doing the advertising. The second circle is the moment you realize your t-shirt is not your soul, and the system that sold you the t-shirt knew exactly what it was doing. The feeding. We've arrived in the third circle, and this is the most pleasant of all of them. Here, you are being fed. constantly, generously, effortlessly. Whatever you want, you can have right now from your couch. Hungry for there are entire infrastructures designed to deliver that. Any flavor you can imagine, free of charge, infinitely scrollable. Hungry for anger? There's a feed for that. Curated, personalized, updated every 6 seconds. Or are you hungry for transgression? Outrage? The thrill of breaking a rule? You can get it all without leaving your bed, without standing up, without looking another human being in the eye. Hungry for meaning even. There are gurus, courses, communities, philosophical hot takes, all available, all monetized, all delivering just enough of the feeling of finding meaning to keep you coming back without ever quite arriving. Because the desires that drive human beings to do things, to build, to create, to risk, to leave the comfortable thing for the meaningful one, don't go away. They're fundamental, part of being alive, but they can be discharged, drained, satisfied just enough that you don't act on them. A person who actually wants intimacy and connection will go through the discomfort, the vulnerability, the risk of pursuing it. A person whose appetite has been partially satisfied every night frictionlessly on the screen will stay home. Not because that person doesn't want actual connection, because the hunger has been quietly metabolized into something that doesn't move that person anymore. A person with genuine political anger will organize, will risk, will act. A person whose political anger gets discharged daily through outrage feeds, comment sections, and performative posting. That person is not going to do anything. They've already had their dose. They're full because the system is not starving you. The system is feeding you exactly enough of exactly the right things that the part of you that would have built a different life is sedated, permanently, pleasantly. You're not bored, you're not unfulfilled, not in a way you'd actually notice on a random day. You're just full enough. Full enough people don't change anything. The mirror. Welcome to the fourth circle. Something has happened, and most people genuinely cannot see it while it's happening to them. You have stopped living your life. You're watching it. Every experience comes pre-edited for an audience. You go somewhere beautiful and you photograph it before you've actually looked at it. You go to a concert and you're recording it for others rather than watching it yourself. And you have a thought. And you immediately consider whether to post it. You have a meal with someone you love, and part of you is already composing the caption. You have an opinion, and you rehearse how it will sound before you allow yourself to fully think it. The performance has eaten the experience, and the audience doesn't even need to be real. You don't need followers. You don't need anyone watching. The watcher has moved inside. There is now a version of you in your own head, observing every moment of your own life and judging whether it will play well to people who are not even present. The result is a strange kind of disappearance. You stop being the person living your life. You become the person curating the documentary of your life, which means you're not really there, not for any of it. People used to remember the moment. Now they remember the picture they took. People used to have thoughts. Now they have content. They used to be someone. Now they perform someone. The performance, repeated enough times, replaces the original, which slowly fades because nobody, including you, was paying attention to it anymore. This is the circle where the soul thins, just by being permanently observed, including by yourself, until there is no place left in your own life where you are simply present, unwitnessed, and real. The hollow. The fifth circle is quiet. This is where most people dwell, not the ones in obvious crisis, not the ones falling apart, the functional ones, the successful ones, the ones with a good job and a nice apartment and the right partner, the followers and the lifestyle and the off-the-shelf rebellion and the feeding and the mirror. They have everything they were told would make them feel alive. Yet, they feel nothing. Not quite sad, not depressed in the clinical sense. Though plenty of them get diagnosed and medicated and keep going. Just hollow, dimmer than they should be. Going through the days with a quiet, persistent sense that something is missing that they cannot name. The things that actually fill a human being. Meaning, intimacy, agency, the felt experience of having built something with your own life that matters to you, those things cannot be purchased, cannot be downloaded, cannot be delivered. They have to be earned slowly through real action in the real world with real risk and a real cost. The system has spent decades convincing you that the substitutes for those things are the things themselves, that the documented experience is the actual experience, that the curated identity is the identity, that the consumed rebellion is the actual rebellion, that the soothed appetite is the satisfied appetite. But your nervous system, deep down, knows the difference. No matter how much of the substitutes you consume, it never quite hits the spot, because this isn't the real thing. It only looks like it. So you find yourself at 35, 43, or 58, lying in the bed at 2 in the morning, trying to figure out why a life that contains everything you were told you wanted feels like a life you're not actually inside of. That feeling is not a malfunction. That feeling is the most accurate signal your psyche has ever sent you. You start to feel we're close to the bottom. The walls that aren't there. In the 6th circle, you start to want out. You feel the hollowness. You sense the trap. You decide, or tell yourself you've decided, you're going to do something about it. You're going to make a change. But then you discover something quietly horrifying. Every change you can imagine is also part of the trap. Quit your job? You can probably imagine that. You've imagined it 1,000 times. What do you replace it with? Another job? A side hustle? A startup? A different kind of corporate role? The system has menus for all of these things, with branding, communities, courses and life coaches and influencers ready to monetize your transition. Change your lifestyle. Sure, there are entire industries built around every alternative lifestyle. Move the country. Become a digital nomad. Get into wellness. Embrace minimalism. Each of them comes with a product catalog, an aesthetic, and a way of being marketed back to you. Become a different kind of person. Try. The personal development industry is worth tens of billions of dollars. Every transformation you can fantasize about, the disciplined version of you, the spiritual version, the assertive version, the wealthy version, is a product line with pricing tiers. This is a discovery that breaks people. The walls of the cage are not solid. There are no bars. You can leave at any time. Every direction you walk leads to another room of the same building. The escape routes are part of the architecture. It is now easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine an alternative to this, because the system has so thoroughly colonized your imagination that your fantasies of escape are drawn from the same menu as your current life. Same chef, different table. The 6th circle is where you realize the walls aren't really walls. They're horizons, and the horizon follows you. One final step down. The silence inside. Welcome to the deepest pit. The 7th circle is the bottom. By now, you've been through the others. You've seen the comfortable lie. You've recognized the off-the-shelf rebellion. You felt the feeding, the mirror, and the hollow. You've discovered that even your imagination of escape is rented. You ask the only question left. What do I actually want? Nothing comes back. Or worse, what comes back is a list of things you've been trained to want. Status, security, the right partner, the right number in your bank account, the lifestyle the algorithm has been showing you for the last decade. You can hear somewhere underneath all of those answers a part of you saying, no, none of that is what I actually want. That's what I've been told I want. But when you try to reach past the trained answers to whatever is underneath, there's nothing there. Or there's something, but it has been buried so long under so many layers of installed preferences and performed identities and managed desires that you can't quite hear it anymore. This is the silence, internal, the silence where your own voice used to be. This is where most people stop, not because they want to, but because getting out of here looks impossibly steep. So they go back upstairs, back to the feeding, back to the mirror, back to the comfortable lie. They tell themselves, this isn't so bad. They develop the symptoms, the anxiety, the chronic low-grade depression, the substance habit, the compulsive consumption, and they manage them as personal failings rather than rational responses. A condition they can no longer fully see. If you've ever been here, even once, even briefly, you know the silence I'm talking about. But this silence is not your enemy. The silence is what's left after all the noise the system installed in you has finally exhausted its last tricks. The silence is the place where, if you're willing to sit with it long enough, without panicking, your own voice eventually starts to come back. The descent ends here, and you look back up. A scansion. From here on out, every step is something you actually have to do. A position, a move, a posture. Then you're on your own. Refuse to serve and rise. Non serviam. I will not serve. The original refusal, spoken at the moment of exile, is chosen over obedience to a system that demands submission. This line in itself is one of the cleanest articulations of a position any human being can take. Non serviam. Not a fit of rage, but a position, calm, intentional. Before you can refuse anything, you have to see what you've been serving. So look, the job, not the work per se. The work might be fine. The job, the structure, that consumes the best hours of your best years and returns you to your own life too tired to actually inhabit it. The performance review, the smile in the elevator, the Sunday night dread, the 1,000 small accommodations you make every week to a system that would replace you in a heartbeat if it served them to. The image, the version of yourself you maintain for the comfort of other people. The opinions you don't express because someone might disapprove. The achievements you don't claim because someone might feel threatened. The personality you've performed so consistently that you've started to actually believe it's you. The desires that were installed to keep you compliant. The hunger for status, the need for validation, the reach for the thing that instantly soothes discomfort. None of it was given to you because it would make your life better. It was given to you because it would make you easier to control. The relationship that demanded your shrinking. The friend who needs you to stay where you are so they don't have to look at where they are. The strangers whose comfort is the ceiling you've been quietly sitting underneath. This is what non serviam unmasks. Not as enemies, as things you've been giving more of yourself to than they have ever given back. The system needs you to feel that obedience is a virtue, that self-sacrifice is noble, that keeping the peace is mature. It's not virtue, it's surrender. And the refusal to collaborate is the first form of self-respect. The system cannot sell back to you. This is where your ascension stops being defensive. This is where it becomes a stance. The first refusal. It starts with one small refusal. Tomorrow, today, or next week, there will be a moment, a reflex moment. The reach for the phone the second the silence appears. The automatic yes to something you don't actually want to do. The opinion you were about to perform that you actually disagree with. The purchase that promises to soothe a discomfort you haven't actually experienced. The smile you give to someone who has not earned it. Refuse just once. Sit with the discomfort that follows and notice that you just survived it. Notice that some small part of you that had gone quiet starts to come back online. This is the first step, the entire first step. The whole ascent is built from a single move, repeated slowly over time. The system is enormously good at large, dramatic transformations. Large, dramatic transformations are products. The system has almost no defense against quiet, unglamorous, invisible refusals because there's nothing to sell to a person who is just very simply no longer playing. Start there. The smallest real refusal you can make today. Insolence. Make enough refusals and something changes. They stop being effortful. They stop being decisions. They become a posture, a way of standing in the world. The system has a word for this posture: insolence. The word is designed to sting. It means impertinence, disrespect, stepping out of line, failing to defer. Notice how the word is loaded. Notice that the system needs you to feel that influence is a sin, because actual insolence, sustained over time, is the behavioral expression of non serviam. Insolence is not rudeness. Insolence is deliberate. It is the calm, conscious refusal to perform a respect that you do not feel for systems, structures, or people that have done nothing to earn it. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop softening your real opinions into acceptable ones. You stop performing gratitude for things that should have been yours by right. You stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You stop nodding when you disagree. You stop staying late because the culture expects it. You stop making yourself smaller in rooms where you have every right to be your full size. None of this is loud. None of this is dramatic. Most of it will be invisible to anyone who's not paying close attention. But the people who have been quietly relying on your smallness will feel it immediately, and they will not like it. This is the penultimate part of your ascension that costs you something socially. There will be people who suddenly become very interested in whether you've changed, whether you're all right, whether something is wrong. Listen carefully to those questions. Many of them will not be coming from concern. They will be coming from the discomfort of someone who relied on you not doing exactly what you have started doing. The herd will tell you that insolence is selfish, cold, and arrogant. The herd is not wrong from its own perspective. From the perspective of a system that depends on your obedience, your insolence is exactly that, a defection. Defect anyways. Daylight. You don't escape by force. There is no breakout, no single dramatic rejection of the system, no single gesture, statement, or purchase that does the job. The system has seen all of that before. The system has counters for all of them, is in fact constructed out of these counters. You escape by recognizing, by taking the position, by making small refusals, and by cultivating those refusals into insolence. Here's what your ascension actually produces. A life lived mostly unobserved by external audiences, by the imagined audience in your head, by the version of you that used to narrate everything for some future telling. Time spent on things that nobody will see, that nobody will reward, that will never become content. The book you read for itself, the walk taken for itself, the conversation that mattered to the two people in it and not to anyone else. Silences that are no longer uncomfortable because there is no longer a reflex to fill them. Real opinions, real relationships, real work, real desires. The kind that pull you towards something rather than the kind that gets satisfied just enough to keep you compliant. It's much smaller than manufactured freedom was. It's much quieter. Most people, when they finally see daylight clearly, will be disappointed. They expect their ascension to deliver them something triumphant, something photographable, somewhere worthy of an announcement. But don't be disappointed. That quietness, that absence of audience, that is the texture of a life that is finally yours. And once you have actually felt it, even briefly, even just for an evening, you will not be able to go back to the substitute. The descent was sold to you as freedom. Every step downward came wrapped, branded, recommended. Every comfort, every distraction, every off-the-shelf rebellion was a hand on your shoulder, gently guiding you further in. Ascension is the opposite. It's just you doing one quiet thing at a time that nobody will applaud. Because in a world that sells you everything, including your own resistance, free will is an act of rebellion. I'll see you in the next one.